very, very excited to welcome back to the show two gentlemen that I've not only known for a very long time, but also been a fan of their respective work for a very long time. And together they make up half of the new band Envy of None. We welcome back to the show Alex Lifeson, who was also in this band you may have heard of called Rush at one point. Alex, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, Eddie. How are you? Nice to talk to you.
You too, you too. And also joining us is bass player extraordinaire and a guy that is a founding member of a band that I also loved very much called Coney, Andy Curran. Andy, how are you, man?
Eddie, I'm doing very well. Good to hear your voice, and yeah, man, nice to connect. It's been a while since we've spoken.
It has been. It has been. It's good to catch up. Al, I think the last time you and I talked on the air was not too long ago because you were promoting the latest line of your Lurks gear. How's that all going for you?
Oh, it's good. It's going great, actually. Yeah, we've got a few things out and a few things in the works, so we're going to keep building on it and try to provide other great gear for budding musicians.
Is that something you're very active in, Alex? Do you are you actually working with the people and always developing stuff and trying new sounds, new effects, new equipment? Do the ideas come from you or somebody else and you kind of put your spin on them? How does it work?
Yeah, I'm not soldering any cables. Yeah, but I do work with Mojo Tones, who are doing all the development and the actual construction and manufacturing of all the gear, of all the pedals, anyways. And they're just such a fantastic company to work with. They have great people working there, great ideas. They're always on top of things and looking forward for new ideas. So we've had a great relationship all along.
You know, speaking of Envy of None, Andy, for those that don't know, in addition to being a musician yourself, for many, many years in various capacities, you worked with Rush on the road, on the label side, the A&R side, and all of that. Bringing people into this new band, Envy of None, when did the seeds of the idea for you and Alex to actually do a band together, when did that first kind of formulate? How long ago?
Well, and you're right, Eddie. There was a period where I stepped away from performing live and recording, and for the better part of 12 to 15 years, I worked, side by side with Alex, Getty, Neil, the management company, and Anthem Records as their A&R guy. And I have to tell you, obviously Alex and I are really good friends, but primarily through that period, I had my manager and A&R hat on. There was no discussion with Alex and I about ever collaborating. As a matter of fact, I made sure I didn't cross the line with any of our acts to talk about my music during that time. But we were on a bit of a hiatus, I guess, and the seeds of Alex and I working together was when he was recording with Mike Smith, aka Bubbles, and he was working on Liquor and Whores, the nice little love song for the Trailer Park Boys. And I was in the control room, and Alex said, "Hey, Andy, go get your bass and come on in and lay down a bass line." And that was the very first time that Al and I sort of collided on a musical end of things. But we would talk casually about what I was up to. And he'd say, "I know you're writing music," and that was when I basically shared a demo with him, and we started writing. I said, "Would you be up for adding some guitars on this?" And it was a new track that I was working on with a different female vocalist. And Al can tell you the good story on that. So we laid some stuff down really quickly, and I ended up at my position at Anthem Records being asked to judge an online music contest, and part of this drill was the finalists get a mentoring call with someone from the music industry. So that was me. I was a music industry mentor, and lo and behold, the person that I was talking to was Maya Wynn, who is our lead vocalist for Envy of None. And I worked on a song and sent it over to Alex, and that her voice immediately resonated with him, and he said, "Oh my God, who is this girl?" And so, we started working on it basically from the seeds of these two songs that she sang on a demo, and that's where it all started, Eddie.
So what are you talking, Andy? Is this like 3-4 years ago, or was this around the time of R40? What's the exact timeline date wise?
I'm going to, well, definitely post R40, right, Al? It would have been after that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, it was even before the first Envy of None record, because we were just throwing around some demos, and Al and I were just having fun, working on material and sending it back and forth to each other's studios. But this was definitely post R40.
So Alex, go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to add that, I think that was around mid 2016 when you asked me to put some guitars on some of the stuff that you were doing. And then we spent some time doing that, because once you did find Maya and she came on board, I used her for a track with Marco Miniman that we did together. And she did the vocals on that track, a really progressive kind of 8-minute track. And I want to say that was sometime around 2017, maybe 2018. Yeah. So we've been in the loop for a while with Maya.
So Alex, for you, how was there always this desire for you to kind of do something in this direction musically? Because, I was thinking about it. I mean, you and Geddy did very little outside of Rush in the decades you guys were active with that band. Interestingly, the Victor record, I know you just reissued actually, which was one of the few things you did do outside of Rush. But did you always have this kind of, Rush was, although there's a lot of diversity in the Rush catalog, as any Rush fan knows, you were certainly locked into a certain sort of direction, sound, progressive, hard rock, whatever. Was this always kind of like an itch you wanted to scratch at some point, going into this kind of musical direction of what Envy of None is doing?
I would say that I never felt locked in. Like, Rush was very progressive in moving forward. We were always looking for another place to go. We finished a record and it was like, okay, that's done. Let's move on now. And that was, the way we operated for forever. I have lots of interest in music. I love playing guitar. I love playing on other people's music. I've done a lot of that over the years. Some of it is not very big projects, and I don't care. I just want to play, and if I can help someone enhance their music somehow, that's my purpose, and that's my goal, and that's what I love doing. When this came along, I wasn't really looking for anything. This came along, and I liked the material that Andy was working on. It was fun. He was a friend. It was a fun thing to do. I was happy to help out. But when Maya came on board, and now we had the potential of making a record, that kind of changed things. And then the influence of all the four of us on each other, really, that's what developed the sound and our goals and everything we wanted to accomplish, which I think on Stygian Waves, on the second album, we really arrived at that point. I love the first record. It's a very trippy, atmospheric, ambient kind of record. But this record, I love the songs on it. I'm playing more solos, which is a lot of fun, provided that I feel there's a need for them and there's a place for them. And that's how I felt with this record. I absolutely love what we did with this record. Very, very satisfying for me.
Yeah, and it's out now, by the way. People listening, you can hear it now. There's several videos, which we're going to talk about as well, which you can see as well on YouTube. But Alex, I'm also curious for you from the standpoint of like, okay, you're associated with this huge band. You're coming out of more than 40 years dedicating to touring in arenas and stadiums and putting out records with this huge band, and all that you did to build Rush along with, of course, Neil and Geddy. And now at this point in your life, it's got it like to start something new. It's funny. I talk to artists like this in the same situation as you, and they start something new, and it's just this grind that sometimes they don't stick with, because it's like, wow, the business and trying to get a foothold now, even coming out of a big band and having this huge association and awareness, it's still really tough sometimes to build an audience. But knowing you, how I know you, I would think that might maybe be almost a relief, because you don't have to live up to anything. Creatively, you've got a clean slate here, and you're just building something brand new. And of course, you've had your success. So however big this is commercially or not, it's more, I would think, about the creative for you at this point. Do I have that right?
Yes, mostly. Yeah, we'd love to be successful with this record in terms of how many people listen to it. That's all we ever really cared about. We made a record that sounds fantastic, frankly. It's a great sounding record, and that's what we wanted to share with people. I mean, that's really all that we care about with this particular project, because it's just worth it to take the time and effort to listen to it. People don't care so much anymore. You know, things come and go so fast. My grandkids, you know, when they listen to music, they listen to 30 seconds. That's it. And they move on to the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. They don't listen to a whole track. So, it's a weird time in music. And how you listen to it and how you process it. There's so much of it. You know, social media is like, it's everywhere. Things, there's just no catching your breath.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing, Alex, because I don't know if you know this, but today is the 49th anniversary of 2112, and I don't think today's music, to your point, I don't think in today's world, coming out with one song that's a full album side with 30-second attention spans, 2112 probably wouldn't have made it in 2025, would it?
No. It's 49 years, really? That can't be 51. I'm just 51. There's just no way that's 49 years.
Today, it came out on April 1st in 1976, 2112 today.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Seems like yesterday.
But that 21-minute song that 21-minute song ain't flying in today's short attention span of social media, to your point.
Probably.
No, Eddie and Alex and I spoke about exactly what he said, you know, because my daughters are the same way. They, especially my youngest, like, loves flipping through, listen to a verse and a chorus, and she's gone. She's on to the next thing, right? And I said to Alex, well, maybe we should be writing 3-minute songs, just an intro, verse, and chorus, like back to the 60s, and, you know, like Buddy Holly or the Ramones, like they had it right. 3-minute songs, in and out.
Right. Andy, for you, I mean, for people that are familiar with the music of Coney Hatch, which, again, as you know, was a huge fan of the band, and I know you still do some stuff with them here and there. But, you know, people that know Coney Hatch was a straight up, in-your-face, riff-driven hard rock band. This is a, you know, different side of your playing and your approach to music from what Coney Hatch was. Where did this, like, was this always a direction musically you wanted to go in as well?
Well, Eddie, it's interesting that you mentioned that and how Envy of None plays into it, because the fourth member that we haven't spoken about today is Alf Annabellini. And Alf, I met Alf when I was recording one of my records after Coney. I think he was involved maybe in the Scatterbrain record. But I really hit it off with Alf, and more on the production end of things. We spoke about collaborating and working on some stuff together, and maybe finding a young artist or young vocalist. We didn't really care what gender they were, and just, you know, so we started working on some material, and it was really trippy, Eddie. It was nothing like Coney Hatch. It was a lot of loops. Some of it was industrial sounding. Some of it was a little bit ambient, and maybe was the results of listening to some, you know, 80s electronic music that both of us were into, but scratching a different itch, as you put it. And so the two of us found that very rewarding. But the goal was always, as Alex mentioned, to see if we might be able to find a young artist and help develop them and move them along. It wasn't like we were writing material to release a new album called Andy and Alfio or something like that, right? And so to end up in this place where we met Maya and insert her vocals on it, and then just, randomly Alex and I are talking about what I was up to, and it gets over to him. Like the seeds of everything from Envy of None were exactly me trying to scratch a different itch and having fun. And it was liberating. I don't need to, want to sound arrogant, but that 4 on the floor rock style, like I can do that all day long, Eddie, and I've done it for a very long time. And it's nice to go down a different road and explore that and try to grow as a musician. So that's why I'm having so much fun. And I echo what Alex said. I'm really, really proud of the records that we've made, especially the new one. And it's enabled me to expand and grow as a musician.
Yeah, it's a really cool sounding record, and it's got some really interesting sounds. And Maya's voice is so cool. She's American, right, Andy?
She is. She when I met her, she was living in Portland, Oregon, and she's now I think living in Santa Rosa, just outside of San Francisco. And
Alex, what has been the response or reaction? And I don't know how active you are looking at websites or comments or social media or any of that sort of stuff, but from what you've gathered from Rush fans, what has been their take on Envy of None?
Well, I think most people are quite supportive. Like when you talk about Rush fans, they're supportive of anything that we might want to do or want to try. All around it's been very very positive, really.
And I know, Alex, you've said more than once, even on this show when you've been on with me, that the idea of, and I get this, of you've spent your whole life pretty much touring around the world. The idea of touring didn't really appeal to you too much. But we also know that sometimes to really get a band going, you got to do some live shows. You got to get out there and get on the road with it a little bit. Has that changed for you, Alex? Are you interested in maybe doing live shows, or is that still something that's not really appealing to you?
We've talked about this. I think having 2 albums now gives us, enough material to do a good show. Like you could do a couple of hours in a nice theater. We have talked at length about this. I know the musicians that I want to include in a live presentation, and I'm sure Andy's got a couple of guys as well. But it's you have to have the support, and if the album does well, then it makes it much more realistic to put something together where you could do a residency or maybe a dozen dates or something. It's not viable to do a one-off or anything like that. So it's a difficult thing. The only advantage now is that I can afford to buy the van that we can drive around and go to gigs.
Yeah, we were looking at a nice Econoline with shag carpets, Eddie. And it's got mag wheels too.
Yeah, it's a 2007, but it's really nice.
But Eddie, you listen, like not obviously not to the extent of how much Rush toured, but both Alex and I have done the grind. He more so than I, and at a certain point, like the long, lengthy tours just aren't that appealing. But then you finish a body of work like our second record, and you go, wouldn't it be nice, a cherry on top, to play some shows, like a small amount of them, right? So we are talking about it, and it would certainly be fun, and I think it could be an awesome night, but a lot of work going into, there's as much work putting together a couple shows as it is an entire tour. So, at this stage, I think it's safe to say we're talking about it, and it certainly would be a nice little cherry on the top, but we're not quite there yet, Eddie.
Well, yeah, and you know what? It's easy for me and other people to say that, but I think Alex just kind of alluded to this before. You've got to build this to a certain point where you're going to get. I mean, look, everybody knows Alex, and the Rush fans are ultra passionate, as we all know, and I'm one of them. But you do have to. I've seen this a million times. No matter how big the band is that one of the members is stepping away from and doing something new, it's still, it takes a lot to get people to know about it and come out and see it. I mean, Gene Simmons just canceled 15 shows here in America. Now, his ticket prices were a little too high, but I mean, I've seen that happen a lot too. So you want to make sure that there's a real awareness for this. And I would think, Alex, that you've got 2-3 records of this material under your belt to really have established this band so people know who Envy of None are when you do go out and do a show. I mean, I think that's got to be part of it too, right?
That's precisely what it is. You know, it's if you're not going to play to a full house, it's just not worth it at this stage, certainly for me. You know, Maya, the young artist, she'll tour every day, two shows a day, you know, because it's exciting for her and it's an opportunity and it's sort of a dream come true. I had the dream and it was awesome. And I have great memories of that dream. And if we could do something that made sense, we would do it. But we wouldn't just do it for the sake of doing it. That doesn't really appeal to me, you know, after my history.